So behind me cooking today is some summer corn chowder, and I'm gonna share with you all my different tips on how to make a $5 meal in under an hour for any weeknight when you don't know what to eat. I want to share with you how to make a really simple meal prep. This one is really cheap. It's about $5 for all the different ingredients together, and it's really quick to put together. It's something that I'm going to be eating for dinner tonight and throughout the rest of this week. Now, this is in no way one of those high protein meal preps that I usually share. However, the ingredients that you see here is going to be for a nice, delicious summer corn chowder, which is one of my favorite soups from Panera. I just call it winter corn chowder because it's winter right now, but this is how I do it. The different ingredients you can see here, these peppers, little mini peppers because I like to have them for snacks too. Red onion, garlic, about 3 potatoes, cilantro. My cilantro is a little on the dying side. Bag of frozen corn. You can also use fresh corn. It tastes even better. The acidity with the lime is going to go at the end. I would prefer to use the little petite diced tomatoes, but I'm going to be using stewed tomatoes. And then finally some seasonings. And I might also sneak in this little Turkish pepper because this little Turkish seasoning I got for free from Penzi Spices. So I'm going to be using all of these together. And the other thing that you're going to need materials for this would be obviously a cutting board and then also a nice pot. First, with the summer corn chowder that I'm going to be making is slicing up all the vegetables. So I'm going to slice up everything except for the cilantro. I'm going to dice the potatoes, so that means make them into little cubes. I'm going to also dice the peppers and dice the onion. And I'm also going to dice the garlic before sauteing it all in a pan, and you will see the next step. So here I am slicing up those mini sweet peppers. And then I'm going to dice the potatoes. I cut away and throw in the garbage anything that looks really ugly and dice them up with the skin on because there's a ton of nutrients in the skin that you do not want to miss out on. So right now, I'm going to be adding the olive oil to our veggies, which we're going to saute first. So I'm going to be generous with the olive oil because it's going to go a long way. So I'm going to saute the peppers and the onion together. I decided I am going to mince the garlic. Why am I going to mince the garlic? Because I like garlic, and garlic has a strong flavor, and if you mince it, it's even stronger. So these will take about, I would say a minute, no more than a minute to saute. I don't really care too much about the size of my veggies when I'm just cooking for myself. When I'm cooking for others, of course, I like to keep the size uniform for cooking time and whatnot, but it's just for me. I'm good with this. Also, after those go in, I'm going to add in the potatoes, the sweet corn, of course, and the minced garlic along with about 3 cups of water. Then I'm going to add the corn. No, actually, I'm going to saute the corn into this because I want to get a little char on my corn, and I'll show you that in just a minute. All right, this has been going on its own for about 40 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and add in the corn. Now you're going to hear that it's not going to be quite as hot and bothered because the corn is coming in. But like I said, I want to get a little bit of a fry, a little bit of a flavor, a little bit of a char on the corn. It's going to be hard to do on a skillet, I know, but just going to lock it in a little bit more. Now, if I was using fresh corn, it would be a wrap, but I'm not because this corn is $1 and it's not summer. So, winter corn chowder, unfortunately, not having fresh corn with it. I'm gonna let that rock for a bit. So as you can see, the corn, onion, pepper mixture is still there. At this point, I'm gonna be adding in the tomatoes, then the potatoes, and then I'm going to add my seasonings and my water for the final step before this simmers on it. Tomatoes. Splash. Mix that all up. I just add tomatoes to summer corn chowder because I like tomatoes. The one that's from Panera has it, but this is really one of those things. The corn and potatoes is the important part in the corn chowder. So, that's all in there. So I'm just going to add the potatoes, handful by handful. Why? Because I only have 2 hands. And I want you to see me adding potatoes. But again, this is a really cheap weeknight meal. You can also prep this beginning of the week. I do like to prep a soup every week for myself and when I'm cooking for others. And the beauty of that is like you can have that meatless Monday time for that. Or just that lighter option to have with a sandwich or something like that. It's really good. It's really easy. Now, if I weren't making this on the stovetop and I was making it in a crock pot, the one thing that would be different is that I would be cooking it over low and slow heat. I would still saute my vegetables. That's one of the keys to cooking with a crock pot. So that's all together. Now it's water time. One of the questions you may have when you're cooking on your own, especially with making soups, is how much water to add. So I have a rule of thumb for how much water, liquid, broth, etc. that you're adding. Now when you're cooking ingredients that take a long time to cook, so for example, if your soup has pasta in it, or beans, or potatoes, like my summer corn chowder does, I'm gonna put enough to cover the veggies, all of the ingredients in my soup. In this case, yes indeed, it is veggies. And then I like to leave myself an inch of wiggle room at the top. Now you can always add more water. It's very hard to take the water away. So I just put to cover the veggies. So at this point, my veggies are covered. And then I'm gonna add a little more water so that it's above the top, about a ½ inch to an inch above the top. And that is how much liquid you add to soup. So now all of my water is added in, and the last thing that I'm gonna be doing is seasoning. Now there's some important notes to have about seasoning. You want your water, your soup liquid, to be a little bit saltier than you actually want. Why? Because during the cooking process, especially the starches that I have in there, which is potatoes, which is a heavier starch, is gonna absorb those different flavors. So I wanna make it salty enough, spicy enough, seasoned enough that it's gonna survive the water as it cooks down. So I'm gonna leave it to cook down for probably about 25 minutes or until my potatoes are done. So my potatoes, you notice, are all around the same size. We got some small ones in there, but they're around the same size. So all I have to do is taste one big potato, one big diced potato, and that's how I'll know that everything else is cooked, because pretty much everything else is pre-cooked before I added stuff in here. So now I'm gonna add my seasonings, which are right here. So I have pepper, Turkish seasoning, which if you can see the label there, you can't. It includes salt, garlic, cumin, black pepper, oregano, paprika, sumac, don't know what that is, cayenne pepper, and cilantro. Then I'm gonna use a little bit of seasoned salt and some crushed red pepper. That's all gonna go in there. And I'm gonna just add to taste as I continue on. So at this point, the water is the saltiness that I want, the liquid. And I'm gonna let this come to a boil before simmering it. So it should come to a boil in just a couple minutes. And then after it has come to a boil and I am simmering it over low heat, so the difference between high heat and low heat, that's when I'm gonna know that everything is all done and delicious. It's gonna go on simmer for, like I said, about 20 minutes or until those potatoes are done. I'm gonna be periodically checking for flavor, and in the last 10 minutes of cooking is when I'm gonna be adding my cilantro, because I love cilantro. If you think it tastes like soap, then don't add it. And a little spricket of lime, so about 1/4 of the juice of a lime. And there you have it, $5 meal prep, summer corn chowder. This is what we call a rolling boil. So I'm going to now simmer this. I'm going to turn it all the way down. The heat's going to be really low, and I'm going to wait 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, I'm going to blend up some of these potatoes, make that a little thicker, maybe add a little half and half. I'm going to have a delicious soup. I like to put a cover on it. Cover down. Simmer down now. So I actually made a mistake when I was cooking this summer corn chowder, and I made it way too spicy. So what I'm gonna be using to cut down the spice, and I added it to all my little pre-prepped out bowls over there too. Dairy, cut spice immediately, and also peanut butter. I use peanut butter powder because it's easily dissolvable, but dairy or peanut butter will cut out the spice immediately. And that's what I used in the summer corn chowder, and it made it just go to the next level. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear how this turns out for you at home.